Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high-octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, the most dangerous four letters in podcasting, Josh. And say her name and she appears, the prestigious one, Dawn. Tonight we're covering WWE RAW from April 21st, 2025. Let's get into it. On tonight's episode is the episode immediately after a magnificent WrestleMania taking place in the T-Mobile Arena, still in Las Vegas. Had to be nice. The wrestlers didn't want to travel that much. It's a long week for them. And whew, I don't want to spoil the end at the beginning, but man, this episode, right?
It was, yeah.
So this episode opens with John Cena coming to the ring. Yeah. That was kind of our take. And he makes his way to the ring. Still very much a more dark motif to everything. Much like he presented himself at WrestleMania, it's not colorful. It's just black and white. And, instead of any kind of iconography or graphics or anything, it just says John Cena. And so he comes to the ring. He's wearing the belt backwards for some reason. And he gets into the ring. And the crowd is, kind of giving him all kind of business. Cena sucks and Cody Rhodes, that kind of a thing. And he just sort of mean mugs for a little bit before he points at someone over by the announce desk. And apparently it was, in fact, to the announcer, Mark Nash. And he indicates that, come here. And so Mark Nash gets up and he steps into the ring. And John Cena presents him a piece of paper from which he is to read. And so Mark Nash takes the paper and he says, "My sincerest apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome the greatest of all time that never seen 17 gracing Vegas with his presence for the final time, the last real world champion, John Cena." Barf. And then after that, Mark Nash hops out of the ring, and then John Cena points at him and says, "Come back," because apparently he wanted the microphone and didn't expect Mark Nash to get out that quick. So once he gets the microphone, I'm just going to summarize because unfortunately this was, for the first big portion of it, a whole lot of John Cena pretty much telling the audience that they're trash. And, that's just lame, honestly. I mean, it's just not interesting stuff. But the little bit of interesting information that we did find out is much how I kind of suppose the reason they were going to put the strap on John Cena in my predictions is he lets us know that there's only 36 dates and then he's gone. And he gives a little countdown and says 20. We're down to 27 remaining of those dates. And essentially he indicates that that's the last bit of time available before he's taking that championship and going home with it. And he indicates, sure, you can make a new championship. He's not stupid. He understands that the show will go on. However, the title that was held by the likes of Bruno Sammartino and the title that Roman Reigns held for 1,316 days, as well as the title that, he had taken off of him by CM Punk, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the storied champions that carried that belt will be gone. And you'll be starting all over. So with him he claims he is the last real champion, and whatever comes next is just crap. Yeah. So he's taking his history and going home. Unless presumably someone can get that belt off him in the next 27 appearances. And that's not 27 matches, that's 27 appearances. He makes that quite clear. So he could just show up and cut a promo, and that ticks down one off the timer. So pretty much we have until the end of John Cena's, career, until he and the belt retire, unless somebody can get it off of him. And he makes sure that we all understand that there is no one in the WWE that has the strength, speed, or ruthless aggression of John Cena. And he says, but he's not completely heartless, so get your cameras out. It's the last time you'll probably see something like this, and be sure to take a picture, because the last real champ is here. And so he's posing, hoping people are taking pictures. What he doesn't realize is that Randy Orton has slithered like a viper into the ring behind him. But we all see it, and we're all real happy about it, because please shut this guy the hell up. And that's exactly what Randy Orton does. John Cena turns around and eats a massive RKO.
Oh, I was so happy about it. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, it was the best RKO ever.
Honestly, my entire demeanor changed whenever John Cena came out and started doing that. It's you. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
We're back to that.
Yeah, pointing out how all the people that pay his light bill are the problem. I mean, I know it's a work. He's just affecting a character, but man, it's tiresome.
Yeah, it really is.
It was super satisfying for Randy Orton, not just to hit him with the RKO, but to shut him the hell up. To be quite honest.
Yes.
And then Randy Orton, because John Cena is like dead, like he's laid out in the ring. For quite some time, and so Orton has plenty of time to hop up on the middle rope and hit his pose, and then he gets down and he poses with the championship belt, and that closes that particular opening segment. And it was pretty darn good. I mean, I understand that John Cena needed to kind of lay out the plot for us, like, oh, okay, so now we've got through the end of your career, much like I had speculated, for them to have somebody beat him so that they can keep that belt. And it sets up a whole series where like the top guys can make a run at John Cena, and instead of it feeling like, oh, these are just forced marquee matches, because John Cena's, riding off into the sunset, now there's actually a plot for them to pursue and a championship belt to win off him, and I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I also tend to think that it's going to be nice seeing them chase, particularly Cody Rhodes. I'm not trying to dog out Cody Rhodes here, but I feel like his championship run was getting a little stale, and I think he does better chasing it.
Yeah.
So I think this will be good. As long as we don't have to hear John Cena run the crowd into the ground too many more times, like that is super boring and old.
It really is.
But we're off to a good start. I mean, I can't complain too loud at any show opening that ends in an RKO. I mean, I just can't.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. We then find out that, unfortunately, Bayley will be out for a period of time due to a dislocated shoulder. Whether that is work or shoot, I couldn't tell you. But that brings us to our first match of the night, and this surprised us because it's the brand new Women's World Tag Champions in an instantaneous rematch, like a less than 24 hours later rematch. So it's Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, the new champions, versus the former champions, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez of the Judgment Day. And before I go too far into the details, what did you think of this match?
A surprise. Much like what you just said. I was I was kind of confused too, because they didn't do what they normally do when there's a championship match. You know how the ref will come out and he'll hold the belts above his head and the ring announcer will be in the middle of the ring, and he'll say who the challengers are and who the champions. Like none of that happened. Like it just
Yeah.
they came out, and the commentators, Pat and Michael, talked about this being a for the belt. Then they got into the ring, and the match started. That was it. So we spent an uncomfortable amount of time trying to figure out whether or not this was actually for the fucking belts or not.
Yeah,
Um,
right at the beginning, we're like, "What? Didn't they say it was for the belt?" I don't know.
yeah,
And
but then
we're
they
on
came.
Netflix. We could have maybe rewound it, but we were like, we're feeling gaslit. But we figured if we wait long enough, Michael Cole or somebody will state, and he
Which is
did.
exactly the case. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we ended up, you know, finding out then basically that it, or reaffirming or confirming, I should say, that this was for the belt. Um, Now, again, I don't know if you're gonna go through any of the moves or not, so I don't want to spoil what happens at the end. But I I found it was a good match, but it was more for the story than anything else. And I wish
Yeah.
I could
Yep.
speak
You
to it a little
you
bit
can go ahead
more.
and speak to it. I'm not going to recount move for move. I think there was a couple of highlights worth mentioning, and I'll speak to how the finish went. But feel
Okay.
free to speak your piece.
Okay. Well, surprise. Color me surprised. Paint me shocked that
Shocked. Yes.
yeah, yeah, that the belts once again changed hands. Uh Back to Raquel and Liv. And it was essentially because they pretty much beat the stuffing out of Lyra. Uh and she ended up getting the she get the count out. Now, the interesting part, like that, it was a good match. It was a good match. Okay, so Raquel looked good. Again, considering that these ladies just fucking did this the night before at WrestleMania,
Hmm. Yeah,
they
they
looked
they were in form.
amazing. They kept that same energy. Okay, I would say even a little bit more so because this match, I feel like it went a little bit longer than the match at WrestleMania. I could be totally wrong because I didn't have a timer and I wasn't timing it. Um, but aside from that, um, what happens after was literally what you had said was going to happen in our predictions podcast. You freaking people, I'm telling you, if you go back and you listen to that podcast, you will hear the future being predicted. We call it damn near every freaking match, man. We call it damn near every match. That's all I'm gonna say. Between the two of us, we
Yep.
wrote WrestleMania, and I am very proud that that is on record and that stands, man. Um,
Yeah, the
but
only thing that changed was who
ooh,
did
who did
the
it?
action. Like basically
Who?
sub in Becky Lynch for everything I said would happen regarding Bailey and Lyra, and it all still fits.
Yeah. So you freaking called it, except you did. No one knew that it would be Becky instead of Bailey. But they're still both bees. Um,
True.
Man. So the belts are lost. Becky's out on the apron and she's looking at Lyra, who's on the mat, looking shocked and defeated. Becky rolls into the ring. She helps Lyra up and she, gives her a hug. And then I believe just clotheslines the shite out of her.
Yep, short arm clotheslined the crap out of her.
So I think Lyra was more stunned than anything. She freaking clotheslined the shit out of her, and then she just yelled at her for what felt like 30 seconds. She left the ring for 2
Yeah,
seconds, came
like
back
there was
in.
a I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say there was a lot of pointing and a lot of like expletives coming out of Becky's mouth towards
Yeah,
Lyra.
Yeah, she was mad. She was mad. So so then she gets out of the ring for like I said 2 seconds. That's a lie. She got out of the ring for like 1.3 seconds, and then got right back in the ring, and then just started beating, just pummeling Lara. She just got on top of her and just started wailing on her. Um, and then she picked her up, gave her manhandle slam, right?
Yep.
And then she did it again.
Yep.
Then she was about to leave the ring, and the audience,
The
cold-blooded fuckers,
bloodthirsty audience. Yeah.
bloodthirsty animals, these savages. They're all one more time, and I'm like, you monsters! I feel right at home. And Becky was like, "Well, if you guys insist." So then, don't have to twist her little arm. She got right back in the ring, and yeah, so it was a bad night for Lyra. Um, just in general.
Yep. I mean, what the week before you had Bailey almost turn on her in that one match they had. But
Yeah.
then Bailey, she kind of reconsidered, came back and hugged her. And then here tonight, her other idol, the other Irish last kicker in the WWE, who she just won the tag belts on, just turned on her and went ham. And I mean, just beat the stuffing out of her. And this
Yeah.
is after she just lost a match. Speaking of which, I will recount some of the highlights. There was one part in particular that really stood out. That wasn't the finish. There was a section somewhere near the middle where I want to say Rodriguez is up on the top rope and she's got Lyra up there. And it looks like she's setting up for like a superplex. And then I'm sorry, Becky had her up there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make sure I've got the positioning right. Okay, correction. I believe Becky had Rodriguez up there. And then Lyra got up there to try and help, and they were going to attempt to double avalanche suplex Rodriguez. But then along comes Liv, and she does
Oh
like a
yeah.
float over power bomb on Becky Lynch, and that was
It.
amazing. Like that
Yeah.
was fantastic. But then Valkyria tries to go for a Hurricane Run or a Frankensteiner off of the top to Rodriguez, and Rodriguez like just powers through, lifts her back up, and then does an avalanche falling power bomb to Lyra Valkyrie. That was outstanding. Because
Yeah.
I kind of, you've seen them kind of all gather up there before, and it ends up being like, when there's four of them, there's one that will come up behind them, and then like, double power bomb two of them, and while they're both like suplexing somebody. So this was a nice variation on that theme that ended with Morgan power bombing the life out of Becky and Rodriguez power bombing the life out of Lyra, and it was fantastic, like so good.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely amazing.
that was a standout spot in that match. Then we come to the closing segment of this match, and we have Lyra Valkyria in the ring, and she's got Liv Morgan up for the Nightwing, but she stumbles a little too close to the ropes, which allows Raquel to kind of grab hold of Liv and pull her off of Valkyria's shoulders. But then Becky comes along and clocks Rodriguez off the apron, and so Rodriguez falls down. And then I want to say Morgan clocks Becky and ejects her out on top of Rodriguez. So now Becky and Rodriguez are stuck on the outside. And when Lyra sees this, she's standing right at the ropes looking at the whole thing. And then when she turns around, Liv grabs hold of her and hits her with like a gross looking oblivion, like full flip, like it's like a DDT more than a flatliner.
Yeah.
And that, of course, allows Liv Morgan to secure the pin, and they win back their tag championships that they had only lost the night before. And we were blown away by that. Like, this is before we even
Yeah.
get to Becky, like, beating the snot out of Lyra Valkyria. we were blown away that the tag championships moved that rapidly. I mean, we have complained in the past about a lack of title mobility. Well, not in this case. And
No, absolutely not.
that was a bold ass move. It was really cool. And so the first match of the night is already blowing our minds. And so and Liv and Raquel, they grab their belts and they hightail it up the entrance ramp and they're holding them up and Liv is cackling like a maniacal goblin and they leave. And I'm like, "Oh man, so many things ran through my head all at once. I was floored by the rapidity of that kind of a title switch, like just one night later. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And two, I was thinking, oh no, that means that Finn now is the only member of Judgment Day without a belt. I mean, unless we count Carlito.
He doesn't count. He doesn't count. He just.
I'm just saying, you could go title, Apple, and then you get to Finn, and it's like, wah, wah. Sorry, buddy.
Title, Apple.
I mean, he's at least got the apple. Finn ain't got jack or squat. And I'm living for what that's going to play out later, and I am not disappointed. But
there's also JD too. JD didn't
wait. Yeah, but he doesn't even have. He's not working here. He's broken. Fair, he doesn't have a spine at the moment.
Fair.
Yeah, I have no idea how long he's going to be out, but I bet you when he comes back, he'll have a belt and Finn still won't. Oh, burn. But then after all that, like we have a second to process that before we return to the ring, and then everything that you mentioned transpires, and we're like, oh no, Becky's fallen to the dark side. I'm hearing the Imperial March and the sound of like Emperor Palpatine telling her, yes, feel the hatred. It's like, what? So, man, and the crowd, do it. The crowd was so about it. Like, Becky has beaten the brakes off of Lyra, and they are cheering and doing one more time. And I'm like, what?
I'm telling you, man, this audience is savage. They're savage in Las Vegas, man. They
are super savage. So Becky makes a super heel turn and attacks her partner, and the crowd's like, yeah, keep killing her.
Yeah, finally. Like, what do you mean finally? She just got here. What the fuck? Kill her! Like, whoa.
Yeah, so suffice it to say, this episode of Raw is off to a killer start. Yeah. I mean, we got John Cena RKO'd out of his sneakers and his mouth shut, and so we're like, yes. And then we have this like seemingly instantaneous tag team rematch and a title change and a heel turn. Holy crap. I'm like, is this night 3 of WrestleMania and I wasn't informed that would be on the card? So it was excellent. It was absolutely amazing. I am so thrilled at everything that has happened to my eyes at this point. Well done, ladies. Well done. Then we are sort of following that up with a brief recap of the drama involving Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns' triple threat match and, the treachery of Paul Heyman. And then I thought it was getting crazy because they show a segment of the New Day, walking in the back with their new, tag titles. And I'm like, whoa, you guys better not be in a match tonight because tag titles are switching hands awful quick. But
watch
didn't
back.
listen. They didn't listen because the next thing we see is the entrance for the New Day. And there's still the boo day. The crowd was still like, you got the belts, but you still get these boos. But they make their way down to the ring and they cut a promo essentially ending in Xavier Woods indicating that we all need to get down on our knees before the New Day, raise our hands to the sky, and scream out in unison, thank God for the New Day.
Listen, he has to stop with that wanting us on our knees bullshit.
Yeah, But Kofi then follows that by saying there's no tag team alive or dead that is better than your boys, the New Day. And I'm thinking, oh man, that's how you get a reunion of the Brothers of Destruction for like one night only, just to take them belts from you. But shortly after that, I think they said something about like, you said we couldn't beat the War Raiders, we did, blah blah blah. But then you hear Alpha Academy's music kick on, and I'm like, Nani? And out comes Maxine Dupree, Tozawa, and Otis. And Maxine has a mic in her hand, and they're heading towards the ring, and she's saying, "Hold on, did I just hear you say the New Day is the greatest tag team ever? I mean, you might be, but the last time you faced Otis and Tozawa, they beat you in 60 seconds. Sorry, 60 sweet seconds." And now here we are at the Raw after WrestleMania in Vegas. And by the sound of it, I think we'd all love for the two of you to put your money where your mouth is and put those shiny tag team titles on the line right here, right now. And Xavier's like, is that what you want, Vegas? No, absolutely not. And Maxine follows that up with like, wait a minute, are the Minutemen scared? And Kofi and Xavier are looking around and the crowd's like, Minutemen. And Kofi's like, ain't no Minutemen here. If you want to do this right now, you got it. Get a referee out here right now. And then the next thing we know, a ref is running to the ring, so it's looking like we're about to have another tag championship defense. But then the lights go out in the building. And that joke I had made about resurrecting, kind of the Brothers of Destruction started to feel less like a joke, and I was like, oh snap.
Yeah.
But then when the lights came up, we see on the marquee at the entrance ramp, Rusev. And we're hearing some music. And then out comes Rusev. And he is looking like back in the day during Rusev Day. Rusev has always been a big dude, but he always carried a lot of extra weight. Rusev has chiseled himself down while also gaining like all of the gun show. So Rusev, looking like he's in the best shape of his life, pretty much comes out, and I'm like, well, is he going to be part of this tag match? No, he comes in there with the intent to destroy everyone in the damn ring, and the New Day realize this pretty quick. They hightail it. They're like, holla! Yeah. And Rusev immediately clotheslines Otis like it's nothing. Like, Otis is a big dude, and Rusev drops him. And then he does like this leaping body block to Tozawa, and Tozawa is now deleted. Then Rusev does like the crazy posing, and I think it's at one point the crowd starts chanting Rusev Day. And I'm like, well remembered, everybody. Yeah, so, that's got to feel good because he's been gone from the WWE. I think they said like 5 years. And that the crowd, they clearly remembered Rusev Day. So that's fantastic. And while he's posing and taking it in and kind of like, Tozawa climbs up to the top turnbuckle behind him, hoping to get like maybe a sneaky dive attack in. And right as Rusev turns around, Tozawa leaps and gets caught by Rusev easily. And then Rusev hits a fallaway slam that throws Tozawa clean out of the ring. Like he doesn't land out of the ring, just in case anyone's thinking Tozawa's dead. It wasn't that bad, but he throws him from one end of the ring to the other, and Tozawa keeps rolling until he's no longer in the ring. And then Otis steps up, rips off his shirt, and is like gyrating like Otis does. And Rusev
gets the shirt ripped completely. Though.
Yeah, before he gets the shirt completely off, Rusev kicks the snot out of him with like a jump kick, it's almost like a super kick, but it's closer to like a scissor kick, kinda. And then he hits him with what he calls the Machka kick. And I mean, this just drops Otis. Rusev then repeatedly stomps on his back and yells Rusev back, as opposed to Rusev, I think, crush is what he used to say before he delivered the accolade. And then Rusev puts Otis into the accolade. And, he hangs on to it for a little while with the referee going, no, you got to let him go. He's going to die. Or whatever it is refs say when they want you to break a hold. and Rusev finally lets go, and just flexes, and we discover that Rusev is now officially back with the WWE. Holy
Dun,
moly!
dun, dun.
How much more are you going to give us? Well, strap in, because the answer is yes. Now, I
Yeah.
feel like I have been saying many much things, so I would like to turn it over to you for the
Sure.
next segment.
Yeah, no problem. After that after that quote unquote match, um, we go to the back where the Judgment Day are in their clubhouse, and Liv and Raquel are celebrating after getting their belts back. For like a fourth time, I think. Dominic
Yeah.
Mysterio rose up, and he talks about how the past weekend was like the greatest of his life. Especially with his deadbeat dad missing WrestleMania because of his injury. Um, Finn Balor walks in and he looks real fucking mad about it.
Yeah.
Liv immediately
Maximum upset, angry leprechaun face on Finn.
maximum upset. Liv gets kind of in between Dom and Finn, and reminds Finn about the family dynamic regardless of championships. Um, Finn looks at them and he says essentially what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and then he gives Dom a fist bump. Says that he'll be out there with Dom for his match with Penta later on tonight. Spoilers, folks. Um, but the last image was Finn like eyeballing that IC belt on Dom's shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Uh so the dynamic I'm loving the tensions. It's real good. I wonder where
Didn't
they're going with
Carlito?
this. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. Didn't, like, near the end of that segment? Didn't Carlito say something dumb like, "We don't have any championships, but it's almost like we do"? And Finn just like, it's like you poured alcohol on his wound, man.
Yeah, you're right. He did say something stupid like that. I just kind of block out what Carlito says.
Fair
Um,
enough.
and then we find out the 2025 Survivor Series War Games PLE was going to take place on November 29th at Petco Park in San Diego, California. Yes. But after that, Io Sky comes out, and she pretty much talks about the night before her match at WrestleMania, night 2, with Bianca and Rhea, and she said that she beat the best in the world, so that means now that she's the best. Um, and the audience has given her her accolades, and that you deserve it, and
Hmm.
things like that. And she's saying thank you and whatnot. But then, while she's in the ring, Stephanie Vacure's music kicks on. And if you got
These Stephanie Vacour, the women's NXT World Champion.
the very same,
Oh
uh,
snap!
and she comes out and she wants to congratulate Io, and she basically tells the audience loses their shit. First of all, they're losing their shit for her. They chant her name. They give her all the props that I feel are well deserved or well earned.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um. Anyway, she comes out to respectfully say that yes, Io is the best, but she would like to challenge Io. And Io is like, you wanna fight me? And Stephanie was all in, locked in. And Io's like, I like this fucking idea. And so she's like, but let's do this shit right now. And the audience loses their shit, and then here comes old fucking Joy Killer
Buzz
Pierce.
Killer Pierce. Oh yeah.
Here he goes, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. And the audience is like, fuck.
Hmm. We were
Uh
like that too. We're like,
yeah, essentially, yeah, absolutely. But He just came out to let everybody know that he wants to also see this fight, and we're like, we don't give a shit, Adam, but whatever. But he wants to let everybody know that he also wants to see this fight, and so he's like, and let's do it right now. And we're like, yeah, we fucking know. Io already said that, brother in Christ. But anyway, um, I guess it didn't count because a woman said it, so he had to come out and fucking double down.
Right, right. This needs a man to sign off on it, apparently.
Ah, shots fired. Anyway, this leads us into our second match of the night, ladies and gentlemen, Io versus Stephanie. And if you think you're dreaming, if you think you've died and gone to female wrestling heaven, it's true. You have.
True facts, true facts.
This was just an exhibition, guys. This wasn't for a belt. This was just for bragging rights. This was just to have a good match with each other and do so respectfully. I mean, Stephanie started out with shaking her hand, you know?
Yeah, yeah, this was good sportsmanship, a lot of respect, just two top tier, and I don't say that recklessly, top tier competitors that just wanted to find out who's better.
And it was good. It was good. It was everything that you would expect between Io and Stephanie. That's what you fucking got. They worked very well together. Oh my god, there was one move, and I think you know which one I'm talking about. It was a counter that Stephanie did to something Io was doing.
Oh yeah, yes, I do know. And I will get that as soon as I'm
Okay, well,
recapping some of this match.
okay, well, yeah, well, then let me just get my little bit in then. Um, Josh is gonna tell you about that move, guys. It was fucking ridiculous. Stephanie is her, man. She like she is ridiculous, and her and Io looked so good together, and it was going just fine until it was interrupted. And I kind of figured that something like that would
Ooh.
take place. I figured that it would be an interruption, or it would just be a count out for both of them. Like they just beat the stuffing out of both of them, and now neither one of them could get up before the 10 count. I thought it could be something like that. Um, but instead, they used their opportunity to push more amazing female talent in WWE. Sky comes out and attacks. Who did she go after? Did she go after Io? I think she went after Io.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
Roxy
another.
Perez, right?
Yeah, Roxy Perez comes out and attacks Io, but then somebody else comes out who I don't know.
Julia. Also, both of these ladies are from NXT, and they've been in significant programs with Stephanie Becker.
Well, Julia showed up as well, and she goes after Stephanie. And it's just utter chaos until This Is My Brutality cuts on, and here comes Rhea Ripley, looking like
Man,
like a fucking evil Avengers, like fucking.
Yeah, a full like bodysuit kind of a thing, and it was tremendous.
Mercy help
And
me!
the minute
Like,
we heard
come
that
on,
music,
what are
we
you
were
trying
like,
to do to me?
"Oh, the children were bad, and now mommy's pissed."
They even had the look on their face. They were like, "Gulp." Roxy ended up getting a headbutt from Mommy, and Julia rolled her wisdom and rolled to the last out the ring. Because she wanted none of that smoke. Rhea was the only one left standing, and she turns to Io, picks up Io's belt, and then Io stands up, and Rhea respectfully hands her the belt. Before she does, she tells her essentially that she's coming for that belt. But you know, that was it. She wasn't trying to like attack or nothing like that. She just said she wants that belt. She's coming for it. So that was that part. No, did you want to talk about that amazing freaking move?
There's a
I know there
couple
were a
of them.
few. Yes, please.
Yeah. So early on in the match, I want to say Io Sky does this suicide dive out on Vakur that she turns more or less into a cross body block, and it looked incredible. And then while they're out there, she sort of flips Stephanie Vacour into the ring announcer kind of area, the timekeepers area, I mean to say. But Vacour immediately hops back up onto the barricade, takes to her feet, and does like this swan. Like she's got her arms out, right? Like it's almost like she's going for a swan dive, but it's a flying, like almost vertical crossbody. And so immediately, like these ladies are flying.
Yeah.
And that's early on. That's like in the first segment of the match. And the move that you're talking about, at one point, Io throws Vacour to the ropes, and Vacour comes back and does sort of the lucha spin, like kind of where it almost looks like Io picks her up for a side slam, but then Vacour sort of gets her in a head whip around the legs, but then continues to spin around her body. And usually this ends up in some sort of maneuver where you wind up in sort of a DDT or something. But in this case, Vacour spun around Sky's body like a full 360 degrees and then came back around into a roll-up pin. And the whole thing was so smooth, so fluid. It almost looked like Io Sky was working Vacour like a pair of nunchucks until Vacour like rolled her up into a pin. And she didn't just stop there. She rolled the pin over into, I think it's called a Charlotte's Web pin, where she spins all the way around and does a back bend to keep her legs down. And the whole thing was just like fluid. It was gorgeous. I mean, wow. And so it gave us pause. We rewatched that move and they replayed it too. And so it was like, wow. So that was a really cool high spot in this move. In this match. And then, of course, I want to say those familiar with Stephanie Vacour will know this move. I think it is called like the Darkness Kiss or something like that. Shadow's Kiss. And it's the move that makes Booker T lose his mind. It's where she sort of like does she does a leg lock around Io's head, but then rolls her till she's face down and then proceeds to bounce her face off of the mat repeatedly. And this move gets a ton of pop for, I mean, pick your reason. And she does it, and the crowd is like, one more time. And you see this little sly grin appear on Stephanie Vacour's face. But she doesn't.
Savages.
She does not do it one more time. And these women are just taking it to each other. And I think the last major big move, and this was no joke. I mean, I should mention they also exchanged German suplexes with one another, and it looked fantastic. But the last major big move before the match is interrupted by Roxanne Perez is they get up into the corner and they hit an avalanche Spanish fly. I want to say Io hit it on Vacour, but both ladies were pretty laid out by it. And Io, it was wonderful. Io had this great sell because she hit the mat and then kind of rolled over, sat up a bit, and then went brr, and then laid back down. And it was amazing. Like this was a treat of a match, but it was another one of those ones where like this is on its way to being like a 5-star, except we're gonna have it interrupted. And that is when the events that you described earlier involving Julia and Roxy Perez and then eventually Rhea Ripley took place. But what a match. Oh my God. Like just pure badass women's wrestling for the sake of.
Yeah.
Like champion on champion. And if that is a main roster debut for Stephanie Vacour, then well fucking done. Like, she came out, she stood eye to eye with the women's world champion and challenged her respectfully with a handshake and then put on a banger. Wow.
Wow, indeed.
So, the winner of this match ultimately ends up being Io Sky by way of disqualification, but, I mean, I can't wait for the rematch is all I have to say. Oh, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but when Rhea handed the World Championship belt back to Io Sky as things were calming down, she reminded Io Sky that mommy is coming for what's hers.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
You mentioned that? Okay, I'm
Mm,
sorry.
that's
Um,
good.
but that was a banger. I mean, wow. And especially wow. I mean, not to take away from the fact that NXT did have a performance over the weekend. I think it was Takedown, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super caught up on all things NXT. But Io Sky had just had a hellacious match the day before, and this was fantastic work from both of these women.
Yeah,
So, I
absolutely.
mean, even Rio, when she came out down, was wearing evidence of the events of the night before. She had a nice little shiner, I think, over her left eye, or just under it, actually. Um, so, woof, they are working really hard.
Yeah, and we thank them for it.
We absolutely thank them for it. Um, I think this next part should also be you because you want to be this person when you grow up.
Who doesn't want to be Jey Uso? So, listen, the next segment, this will be real easy, yeah, because again, I'm not gonna do the verbatim business, but Jey Uso has a championship celebration in the ring, and they do this amazing like vignette, uh, basically detailing his rise to where he is now. Um, and it's got pictures of him as a kid. It's got pictures of him and Jimmy. It's got pictures of him when they first started out as a tag team. Um, it's got some 2015 like pictures. Like I mean, it went it went all the way through it. Some of his iconic matches. Him winning. Oh my God, was it Elimination Chamber? Or
I think so. But I mean, it was like the life story of Jey
yeah,
Uso
yeah.
for a
It
bit
just
there, and it
yeah,
was all done to. It was a song by Macklemore. What
Macklemore.
do you know the song?
I
A
don't remember it,
chant, I
but
think, or I'm trying to
yeah,
pick my
I
brain.
think that's right. I think it's
Is that
something like
correct?
chant. Yeah, it's something like that. Uh, Great song. Like I don't know much about his newer stuff, Macklemore. That is, I don't know if that's a new song or not. I don't know much about Macklemore, but I know that was a great song and it fit the 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 vignette perfect. They even threw in some of Jey Uso's own song to the tempo or beat of the song. It was great. It was
Hmm.
great. It was just a really good vignette. And
Yeah,
then
it was actually genuinely touching, to be quite honest.
yeah, really, it was done with a lot of love. You could tell. Uh, and then out comes our new heavyweight world champion, Jey Uso. He comes out and the audience is losing their shit, and he's, making his entrance down the aisle like he always does. He gets in the ring and basically is talking about, excuse me, talking about how happy he is. Um, how he's here now, like he's wanted this like for ever since he was a kid. This has been a dream of his. Um, he talked about how he beat the snot out of Gunther to get there, and how he made him tap. And the audience remembered that, excuse me. They remember that that Jay made him tap out, and that'll come back up later.
I
Foreshadowing.
think I think they chanted it for a bit, like he
They
tapped out,
did.
he tapped out.
They did. They chanted it for several times in this evening. This was the first time. They really enjoyed that. Um, Shortly after that, Sami Zayn makes his way to the ring. Music cuts on, and I mean, there was a pop, but not as loud as I thought there would be for Sami. I'm thinking maybe sometimes the sound gets a little muted because I mean, loud venue like this, I'm pretty sure that sometimes it gets to a point where it's like deafening. Um, and maybe that's the case. But anyway, he makes it out to the ring. Excuse me again. And the celebration continues, man. He tells Jay how happy he is and how proud he is of him, and how the past couple of weeks that he hasn't been able to be here for Jay, uh with all the stuff that Jay was going through, it really affected Sammy, and he, he has much regret. Um, but he did want to let Jay know. I'm sorry, Jimmy know. Jay, Jesus Christ, he was like Jay know. Oh my God, that he was very proud of him. Um, and then the celebratory music kicks on again. Uh, and then Jimmy comes out. And he joins in the celebration, and Sammy's like just on cloud nine because he sees his other homeboy, his other Usos coming out. And then they all do this really, that the little handshake they have, the little hand. They all did that
Yeah,
together. Um, and there was group hugging, and much merriment as Jay left the ring, went up the ramp, and his hype man, his Sammy and Jimmy were behind him, and it was just a really cool little event to celebrate Jay's achievements, and the audience was here for it, as
they
were
got
we.
so much yeet. They did. It was amazing. It
Yeah,
was like a very touching Usi celebration for the new heavy yeet
yeah,
world champion Jey
yes,
Uso.
yeah. They had all kinds of yeet parties. Um, After that, the WWE does their freaking mic shout outs, or their name drops about who's in the house and who's watching the match. I kind of feel like they just went through them this time. They were kind of quick. They didn't stay on these
Yeah.
fucking people for like a minute, with the camera up their nose.
Yeah, it wasn't the long lingering like this is getting uncomfortable now kind of a situation.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciated that. They need to keep that same energy from now on. Um, After that, we go backstage again to Kathy Kelly. She has a backstage interview with Logan Paul, uh, who ain't here for her questions. He ain't here for how she's wording that weird shit. Um,
Yeah, he did not like that first question.
yeah,
Uh, what is she? She asked him like, "Congratulations on your win. How do you think it might have gone, or would it have gone differently? Or no? How much of an effect on your win do you think that the interference from Jeff and Karrion Cross had on it?" And
yeah,
Logan at first was like, "What?" And at first I thought he genuinely didn't know, but he was giving her the business is what he was doing.
yeah. Just essentially telling her he ain't here for that. Like she can keep all that weird shit to herself and ask him the questions that really fucking matter. Um, and he essentially just told her that it's irrelevant regardless of who interfered in his match. And that he'll wrestle anybody on the roster and continue his WrestleMania winning streak. Uh,
Indeed.
yeah. But then after that, Jackie Redmond was on the other side, way on the other side of the arena, and she was interviewing AJ Styles. Um,
AJ
Asking
Styles.
AJ Styles, and she was essentially asking him how he doing after he got his ass handed to him last night, and he did say that it was a hard pill to swallow. Uh, Logan does play his games, but he's gonna go ahead and take that L. And I'm like, well, yeah, you have no choice, bro. What are you gonna do? Like I mean, you got the L, you received the L as a gift, then you have no choice but to take it. I don't like. Were you expecting a different outcome?
Yeah, I don't think he can decline the L,
Yeah.
but
Wait, I lost? No, I don't want that. Can we just say I won? Yeah, I'd like that a lot more. Yeah, that's not how that works. Uh, that ain't how that works, buddy. But he's gonna be okay. After he lost. Part of being phenomenal comes with setbacks, he says. And Karrion Cross, again, this was a night for people who just wasn't hitting that bullshit. Uh, Karen Cross came out and just yelled "cap" in his face for like 30 seconds. Um, and he was like, "There's no
Eh,
bouncing back from losing to Logan Paul." Like, my man, my man, he can't bounce back when you're losing from you lost. You know, like a 3-year-old came out here and beat your ass, and now you out here talking about you gonna take the L. Yeah, fool. Who else gonna take this L? So that was AJ. Yes, that was AJ. I'm sorry, that was carrying to AJ.
AJ saying, "I don't like that. Can we just say I won instead?"
Yeah. Hey, y'all. I know y'all said I lost that match, but I was wondering. Now, hear me out. I was wondering if we could all just agree that I didn't lose that match. Maybe y'all just say I didn't take that L. I mean, because I am a veteran. Let's just say Logan Paul almost got me, but he didn't get all of it. And you know how Michael says it. Have him say some shit like that, and then I will just pretend like the L never happened.
Or Logan's first name starts with a capital L, so I mean, he could take it, right?
He could take it. So yeah, um, that was weird, weird and strange. Um,
Both.
both. But Karen comes out and he's just screaming cap. Uh, and AJ's like, what you want me to do? Want me to go back to that man I was a year ago? And Karen's like, yeah, food. That's exactly what I want you to do. That's why I'm out here. Like, you need to revert. You need to join the dark side. Um, embrace your newfound powers. Your hatred, use it.
And like the dark side has cookies. This is a well-known fact.
Lots of cookies. Um, Cross told Styles that losing to Paul made the locker room bad, and he should go back to his evil ways. AJ responds by saying that he hated looking at himself in the mirror last year. And he's never going back. And I'm like, maybe that's why he got swole. Um, and if Cross wants to be angry at the world, don't take AJ down with him. In fact, Styles tells Cross to solve that problem himself. And Cross says that maybe he will. And Styles walks away from that. Styles got tired of hearing that bullshit and he was out. Not here for it.
Nope, he was sick of Carrion's BS.
Now here's okay. So we got to talk about this. Okay, there
We
were
got to.
I feel like there were less matches on this one, but this was a fucking solid episode. Okay, when we come back from commercial break, Gunther is yelling at Michael and Pat. Okay, and he's yelling
Yep.
at them for the comments that they made earlier about him.
Yeah, he's getting big swole at Michael and Pat.
Yeah, he's so mad about it. Now, no, he did not come out when Jay was out here. Uh, he
No,
didn't.
he didn't feel like taking a forced nap.
Yeah, yeah, he didn't come out during that. But right after, somehow he was able to find his way out to the arena. Maybe he couldn't find the entrance until commercial break or something. Who can say? Anyway, he's essentially yelling at Michael and Patton, and Michael gets up and he's like, to be fair, I'm not the one who tapped out, and I'm the one who made you tap out. And boy, that pissed Gunther off. So he slaps the headset off of Michael. And long story short, this ends up with Michael getting choked out. Um, but Pat, before he could take Michael down, before Gunther could take him down to the mat, he basically gives him an elbow to the side that rattles Gunther enough to release Michael, and Michael scurries along, and now Gunther wants some smoke from Pat. Again, I think it's interesting that he came out here and attacked not necessarily wrestlers. Now, yes, I know Pat can go in the ring, but I don't know if Pat's ring ready. Pat hasn't done that for a minute. Um, And on top of that, he's a commentator right now, bro. Like he's just doing his fucking job. And I'm saying all this in kayfabe, okay? I know that this is all like an act. So guys, sit down, sit back down. It's okay.
Guys, wrestling is real and Gunter was out of line and they should call the cops.
That's true. Somebody should have called the cops. I don't know what the fuck's happening with this world. I don't know why people just sit and cheered for this. This was insanity.
I don't know what kind of monkey house Adam Pierce is running over here on Raw, but he's going to need a stern talking to from the higher ups.
Yeah. Be ashamed. Feel bad.
I hope his boss is a woman.
Oh no. It might be. That's probably why he's all so angry all the time. And that's as far as I'm going to go with it. I won't go any darker with my Adam Pierce comments and his female boss. So, with that in mind, after Pat breaks up the sleeper hold on Michael, he's walking away from the situation, and he unfortunately turns back to Gunther, who then puts Pat in a sleeper hold for what felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was on him for a while.
Yeah, there were several people coming, several security team members, officials, and refs all coming to try to break up this sleeper hold that Gunther had on Pat. Pat went to sleep. Look, it was on him so long that Pat went to sleep, woke up, went to sleep again. I mean, he went through some stuff. He had time to come back and then have an out of body experience. You know, like he had time. Gunther finally lets him go, and he scurries off while the audience just is like giving him the boo domination. And Pat sells this choke all the way to the back. The camera stays with him all the way to the back.
Yep, he's coughing and gagging and having to stop and dry heave. It's something. Pat was selling this sleeper.
Verily I say, yeah, he sold it.
Yeah, and the whole time while this sleeper is going on, the referee corps is out there, security's out there. Security is trying to keep the rest of the cast of Pat McAfee's show who were in the front row and jumped over the barricade to try and help Pat.
They immediately wanted the smoke, and for some reason, the security and the rest spent more time keeping these men away than they did trying to keep Gunther off of Pat. There was nobody on Gunther for a minute there. He just had plenty of time to choke the life out of Pat while they yelled at his friends for jumping the barricade. I did like this little segment though. I like the fact that they're continuing to show that Gunther is just crazy and unhinged as fuck. And it has not gotten any better. They were trying to get Cole to go home, and Cole's like, "Nah, I ain't gonna let no bully prevent me from doing my job." So he U-turns hot tails it right back out to the commentators table, and Joe Tesseract is there now to replace Pat, because Pat dead right now.
Yep. And so for the remainder of the show, our announced team is going to be Michael Cole and Joe Tessitore.
Yeah.
Tesseract.
There you go. And that leads us into our third match, our main event, actually. But again, they didn't even call this the main event. This was a really weird episode as far as how they were calling these matches. This was for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. I don't remember them doing the belt hold up thing again. They might have, but I don't remember.
In this one, they did.
They
did?
Got
the whole because remember I was saying that is a pretty belt when the ref held it up high.
Yes, you're right.
And then they gave us the graphic, which is just an image of the belt. So for this one, they did do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they did do it, folks. And would you like to talk about this match? Got anything you'd like to say about this one?
Only that it was a far better match than I thought it was going to be. I mean, given that we just watched Liv and Raquel beat the brakes back off of like Valkyria, I'm like, man, who knows what belts are flippity flopping tonight?
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
thinking Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. Dominic could be on his A game, and it's still Penta. So I'm coming into it thinking, well, Penta, congratulations on winning that IC belt.
Yeah.
But of course, there is always the factor of the Judgment Day. When you are fighting one, you are fighting all, and that does end up coming into play. But I thought it was a great match. Mysterio looked really good. Um, and I'll go into detail when I'm kind of recapping it, but Mysterio looked fantastic, and the way this whole match played out was really, really good, including a pleasant surprise. But I'll actually let you speak to that. What were your thoughts on this match?
Thought this match was really good. And it ended up being, like you said, a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Um, I like the fact that this is what feels like a legitimate title run for Dominic. I don't like. Of course, he's gonna do a little bit of cheating and whatnot because he is Eddie Guerrero's son. Yeah, I said it. Um, so he.
Messy.
So he's gonna stir the shit pot. Uh, and he does, but I mean, like he for what it's worth, he defends this uh to the best of his ability, I think. Now, did he get some help? Yes, of course, because it's Judgment Day and they're gonna support their own. Um, I'm not sure he necessarily needed it, but he did get it. Um, and I thought this was a really good title defense, like for your first title defense against Penta. Well done, well done.
Yeah.
Even if Bobblehead showed up and helped out a little bit.
Oh, don't gloss over the return of Bobblehead.
I'm not glossing over it. How can you gloss over that? That's like trying to gloss over a life-size globe. Like you can't ignore that. That's in your
And
face.
hey, during the weekend, he needed to stay at Easter Island, but he was allowed to come back Monday. So the giant head did return.
Yeah, it's
We
his
we
own
got a
flotation device.
we got a reappearance of JD McDonough for this match.
Yeah, Bobblehead showed up, and he did support, or he did lend his hand to the champion. But again, I don't know. I'm
Indeed.
not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was something that was needed. I mean, it looked like it was fortuitous, and it ended up working out for him. But had he not done it, had no one pushed uh Penta off the rope, I kind of feel like that Dominic would have found a way to get the to get the W anyway. But that's just me. Well, what did you think
Indeed.
about it? You feel free to add your
I'm kind of in agreement with you. I feel like Mysterio rose to the occasion in ring. He had some fantastic moves that he pulled out. One, Mysterio is throwing some nasty looking drop kicks lately. They're looking good. But one move he hit him with was like a quick snap up into a Michinoku driver that looked absolutely brutal. And so he was wrestling this match like it wasn't I'm a henchman. Like he was wrestling like he wanted to keep his belt, and it was a good match. And to be fair, yes, JD McDonough did interfere enough for Mysterio to get the win, but I mean, is that counterbalanced by the fact that Finn Balor interfered enough to not help Mysterio, but actually hurt him a little bit on the outside of the ring?
yeah.
Because there was a point where Mysterio got flung outside the ring, and Finn comes over to try and check on him, and Penta steps outside the ring, and Mysterio recovers enough to point out that Penta's right there on the apron, and Finn turns around, and I want to say Penta hit him with like a flying Hurricane Rana, and like kind of flung Finn directly into Mysterio. So Finn's interference in this particular instance really worked against Mysterio
Yeah.
and to Penta's favor. But that was kind of the extent of the interference at that point, and it actually counted against Mysterio. So they get back to it, and as we're heading near the end of the match, we've got Penta drilling Mysterio with a Mexican destroyer, and this was savvy of Mysterio. Before Penta could secure a pinning combination after that destroyer, Mysterio rolls out of the ring. And that kind of led us to the situation where Balor was checking on Mysterio, and then the Flying Hurricane Rana throws Finn into Mysterio. Penta then picks up Mysterio, throws him back in the ring, and he looks like he's about to go for some sort of dive off of the top turnbuckle onto Mysterio, and that's when JD McDonough appears and shoves Penta off the top turnbuckle. The referee didn't see it. And this allows Mysterio to drop kick Penta as he's recovering into the middle ropes and hit the 619, and then he connects with the frog splash to pick up the victory. So it wasn't very much interference, but I mean, it was interference.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Penta and Mysterio wrestled a decent match prior to that. And it was a solid finish on Mysterio's part. The 619 looked good. The frog splash looked great. And then after the match, everybody except Finn, so basically Carlito and JD rush the ring, and they're cheering for Mysterio, who's holding up the belt. And then they start heading out, and they're working their way back up the entrance ramp. And you can see all three of them, and it's like, where's Finn? Finn's lagging way behind, but like out comes Liv and Raquel. And eventually Finn catches up, and the Judgment Day just kind of stands victorious, and thrilled at the turn of events. And Finn looks like genuinely shocked and pretty happy that JD has come back. So clearly he wasn't aware of this, but it looked like Mysterio may have known. So who's really running things in the Judgment Day?
Dominic?
Questions, so many questions.
Yeah.
So I am all in for everything about this. I think it gives wonderful intrigue and storyline to the Judgment Day, and they are pretty on top right now because they've got the women's tag belts and the Intercontinental belt, and now with JD back on the scene, I mean, I don't know if they'll do anything ever like legitimately with Carlito, but with Finn and McDonough, you could potentially have them challenging for the tag belts. So watch out, New Day. The Judgment Day might challenge you for who's the better day.
Yeah. Yes.
And if earlier in the evening's events are any indication, the answer is Rusev Day.
Yes. Hey, that's real good. I like that.
Hey, you like what I did there?
Yeah, well done.
Hey, WWE, call me. I'm booking your stuff, apparently. So is Dawn. So, hook us up. We'll write for you.
Yeah.
That would be unreal. See that? See that subtle plug for their brand new show? Look at that.
My God.
All right. But that brings us to the final segment of the night. The one that a lot of people were waiting for. We dealt with the first main event. We dealt with the final main event first. We now come to the Saturday night main event and the fallout from Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Paul Heyman.
The actual main event.
The actual for real main event of WrestleMania. And this starts out with Seth Rollins' music, and he's kind of going for a whole different vibe. Instead of the burn it down situation, we've got the gold and yellow, I want to say was the color that was being used. I think, right?
Yeah.
And like a bright yellow, if I recall correctly, and it matched kind of Seth's outfit because he's out there in this, it's somewhere between neon yellow and like a really bright lime green kind of a color. Like it's bright. And the whole vibe is different. And Seth Rollins comes out with Paul Heyman, and they slowly make their way to the ring. The crowd is booing them, and I'm like, why though? Like, I guess you guys really love like Punk and Roman Reigns, but neither one of them are like necessarily faces. So, I don't know what it is that Seth did so wrong. I guess you prefer, a tribal chief that just uses people and a super best friend that puts a guy in a compromising position. That's much preferred, huh, audience?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But Seth makes his way to the ring and he holds his hand out, and Paul Heyman graciously gives him the microphone. And he says, I'm a visionary. I'm a revolutionary. I took a wise man from Roman Reigns, and I stole CM Punk's best friend. I am the winner of the main event of WrestleMania. I am Seth freaking. And before he can spit out the words Rollins, we hear the Cult of Personality start playing. And we have CM Punk aggressively making his way to the ring. Not quite running, but like anger power walking while he's currently taping up his hand. And he makes his way to the ring, jumps in, and immediately starts going ham on with Seth. Like they're trying to trade punches, but Punk ends up getting the better of Seth and gets him in the corner and punches him down into the bottom turnbuckle and then stomps on him for like what felt like an eternity.
Yes.
Until he turns his attention to Paul Heyman. And Heyman is sitting there shouting at him. He's not mic'd, so we're having to hear it kind of like through the ring mic. And he's shouting that, Punk is the one who put him in this predicament. And Punk then proceeds to grab Paul Heyman and push him into the corner. The very same kind of a situation that Roman Reigns had done, that Punk had just saved Paul Heyman from like a couple of shows earlier. And that's when Rollins comes up behind CM Punk and rakes his eyes, getting him off of Paul Heyman. And then while Punk is kind of on the mat dealing with his eyes, Rollins hits him with a curb stomp.
Yeah.
And so for a bit, it looks like you've got Rollins and Heyman standing tall over the situation. And it's at that point that Paul Heyman grabs the mic and says, we are going to conclude the weekend of WrestleMania 41 by propelling the news all the way to WrestleMania 42. There is a new reigning, defending, undisputed number one top star in this entire industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Seth freaking Rollins. And we're like, oh, okay, that's the close of the show because, you get the little credits, right? And the logo. But it wasn't, because at that moment, Roman Reigns' music hits. And everybody's like got their ones up almost immediately. And Roman gets out onto the entrance ramp and takes out running. And he immediately dives into the ring, runs past Seth Rollins, who attempts to catch him with a clothesline. And then Roman Reigns bounces off the ropes and spears Rollins, and Rollins rolls all the way out of the ring. And Heyman is just kind of looking slack-jawed. Like, I don't think he expected Roman Reigns to demolish Seth Rollins so quickly.
Yeah.
And Roman is kind of flexing and is shaking the ring ropes and hulking out. While Heyman is just sort of standing there looking like stupefied, and then Reigns turns around, and now Heyman looks like he's afraid for his life, and Reigns drops him with a Superman punch, and he's super fired up. So he goes to the opposite corner and prepares to hit the spear, presumably on Paul Heyman, and right as he's about to launch into his own spear, a hooded figure enters the ring and spears the ever-loving life out of the tribal chief. And then proceeds to spear what's left of CM Punk. And he removes his hood, and you realize that you have Braun Breaker there, and the realization dawns on everyone that Braun Breaker is in cahoots with Rollins and Heyman.
Yes.
And Rollins, who has kind of recovered from his spear, gets in the ring and, he hugs Braun Breaker, and then he guides Breaker over to where Roman Reigns is outside of the ring, recovering from the spear that he got hit with, and basically sicks the dog on the Chief. And Breaker hops out, and he starts making a move towards Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns does the uppercut slap to Breaker. And that buys him a little bit of space, and Breaker starts to recover while Reigns is also recovering, and he goes around the far side of the ring, and you can see it coming. You see that Braun Breaker has got this wraparound spear, and Roman Reigns is right up on the barricade next to the timekeeper's booth, and just like you assumed it would go, Breaker smashes Roman Reigns through the barricade into the timekeeper's area, and Roman is demolished. And Rollins is saying, "Get him back into the ring." And so Breaker brings in Reigns and holds him. And Punk, who has made his way back into the ring, but is still just sort of bleh on the mat, is there too. And I think Rollins says, watch what's going to happen to you, to Roman Reigns, as he bounces off the ropes and delivers a second stomp to CM Punk right in front of Roman. And Roman is still on all fours. Breaker's holding him down, like in that kind of position. And then immediately following the CM Punk stomp, Rollins then takes off, Breaker lets go, and he stomps the Tribal Chief. And this leaves us with Rollins, Heyman, and Breaker standing tall over the Tribal Chief and CM Punk as the show goes off the air.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was crazy. This episode of Raw.
Insane forever.
So good. I swear to you, I felt like I was watching a secret night 3 of WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. It was crazy.
It was super good. What would you review and rate this episode of WWE Raw?
This was like a 10. Like I know that there weren't as many matches, but honestly, the matches that were there, the promos that were cut, everything about this episode was perfection. Considering this was the night after the biggest event in wrestle hit, like in like
In
wrestle
the industry.
like industry, yeah. This is amazing. This was almost better than night 2 for me of WrestleMania. This was absolutely fantastic. This was a banger of a match, and the first 10 that I think I have given a show like SmackDown or Raw, but it was well deserved.
So, 10 neck nubs, top tier.
10 neck nubs, top tier.
I am going to match your same energy. It breaks my rule. I typically reserve 10s for paid live events or pay-per-views. This was a 10 of 10 show. I can find no flaw. None. Nothing. Everything was executed perfectly. And so many surprises. We were shocked. We were stunned. We were surprised. There was some great emotion, especially that Jey Uso vignette. Oh, man. It was everything. It was everything that you came to see. And it kind of finished off any kind of open questions left by WrestleMania to boot.
Yeah.
It was fan-freaking-tastic. I think I agree with you. This might be. I mean, we're rating it higher than Night 2 of WrestleMania, so I think we can agree it was probably better.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely flawless execution, and this is on top of having, it's the Monday following a huge event like WrestleMania with a lot of the same wrestlers that participated in it, by the way. And they all performed flawlessly.
Yeah.
The match between Io and Stephanie Vacour, amazeballs. Everything was good. The miniature invasion of NXT by Roxy Perez and Julia, the return of Rusev, the return of JD McDonough, the shocking betrayal of Becky Lynch to Lyra Valkyria, and the shocking flip of who's the women's tag champions. Everything was amazing and surprising. It was perfect. I can't think of anything further to say that isn't just me repeating myself in awe of how good this show was.
Yeah.
If you are any kind of wrestling fan, and I have to assume you are if you've listened this long to this podcast, this is everything you want. Everything you want to see if you are a fan of professional wrestling, and WWE pulled it off without a hitch. It was perfect. Top tier. So with all of that said, I would like to thank everyone who joined us for this episode, and I would invite you to please join us for the next episode, which I believe will be our coverage of Friday Night SmackDown. Whew. Man, WrestleMania weekend.
Busy week. Yeah,
it was
so good.
busy, but it was glorious.
So,
but,
yes.
Yep. So we will see, hopefully, everybody tuning in there. Until then, I don't think there's much more for me to do but roll the outro.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.